So, I had a chance to watch a movie called Eileen with Thomasin McKenzie and Hathaway and Shea Whigham. It takes place in like 1960s Boston area, New England, Massachusetts, and it's basically about Thomasin McKenzie's character Eileen is a very repressed girl, both sexually and like character development wise, as she's like stuck at a job that she's like kind of just going through the motions of like living day to day life, and just kind of infatuated with like every single person she meets, and Anne Hathaway's character comes in. She's a psychiatrist, and obviously Thomasin McKenzie's character is very much infatuated with her and adores her in every sense because one, she's very beautiful, but two, also because she's very successful, and it's kind of like everything that Eileen wants to be. Um, that's like how the movie starts out. It definitely like turns into something much more like later on in the movie. So that's when the movie starts out. It definitely goes somewhere throughout the movie that like I wasn't expecting to go, and I don't want to say anything because it's a very memorable movie experience I've had for the 2023 movies. Um, I personally like really enjoyed this movie. I know it's kind of getting like mixed reactions online. One of the main criticisms I see is that the ending, it's not, it's it doesn't conclude everything that like most people would want concluded like in a movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I think everything that Thomas and McKenzie does is fantastic. Everything that Anne Hathaway does is fantastic. Everything that Shea Whigham does is fantastic. I can't think of anything like in recent memory that any of those three have done that like I just haven't liked. Um, this takes place in the 60s, and it very much feels like a 1960s movie to me as well, which a lot more like drawn back because they don't have like they were working on like a lot less budget back then. They were working with a lot less technology back then, so everything seems like a lot more subtle, and I think it turns into like one of these great um, character studies because there's like multiple ways that you can interpret the story going, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, like when I talk about spoilers. But just it's one of those movies that like if I watch it a second time, which I'm sure I will in the coming years, I feel like I'm gonna get even more out of because of like, hey, like this could have meant this could have meant this, and like now that like where the story goes and like plot elements that they bring up like later on, like it all makes sense. Like more things will like unfold, and I think that's a sign of like a very good storytelling, and makes me like really enjoy this movie. Um, that being said, I understand like how like this could turn like a lot of people off, um, because like one, it's overtly sexual, like definitely like in the like I said, Thomasin McKenzie's character is very sexually repressed, so there's uh, multiple instances of not like overt masturbation, but like implied masturbation. But I mean, it's she puts her hand down her pants and like it's implied that that's what she's doing. I think it's done tastefully. It's not it's just it adds to the story to me because again like this is someone that's so sexually repressed that she's doing these things that like obviously like aren't good to do in public. on top of that, like I could see people like not liking this as well because of the, you know, a lot of people say slow pacing. I think it's more methodical, because it's very much setting this tone of this person like living their life and just kind of going through the motions of day to day life for them, and well, it does like start out, you know, more slow, quote unquote, methodically paced. It definitely speeds up very quickly and like almost goes like blazingly fast, like for the past 30 minutes. Um, this is easily gonna be like on the top 10 of my 2023 list. Like to give you an idea of how much I enjoyed this movie. Anyways, I'm gonna talk about spoilers now. So the ending is like the main thing that people need to talk about, like when they talk about spoilers, because it's very open-ended. Basically, she hitchhikes a ride going to New York because Anne Hathaway's character leaves her stranded. My interpretation of this is that she has now gained the courage to do more with her life instead of like running through like the motions, pushed partly by like, you know, Anne Hathaway abandoning her, but also because like she's like went through like a moment that's kind of like freed her, because like a lot of her repression comes from her father, which like in like the whole climactic scene in the movie, she shoots a person who was complacent in the father sexually abusing a son, and it's implied that the same stuff happened to Thomasin McKenzie's character, Eileen, but there's like not anything overt that like I noticed, you know, from that. But it could also be like, you know, she's like the line that like the character that she shoots is basically the same tone of line that her dad uses, which is like, you wouldn't understand this, you know, just talking down to Eileen's character, and she, you know, she snaps and then pulls the trigger. And that was my interpretation of the ending. Like that was like enough to catalyst her to like move on with her life. Like that moment, like where she like, well, the needle drop was actually before that. It's like, you know, she goes like on a quote unquote second date with Anne Hathaway's character at her house on Christmas Eve, and you know, a few minutes in the conversation, you know, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, Anne Hathaway's character is just like, hey, this isn't my house. This is Lee Polk's mother's house. And you're like, wait, what? And then she's just like, Lee Polk's mother is tied up in the basement. And it's just like, wait, what? Like, this jumps so quickly. Like, it makes sense. It's not like it's like an absurd jump, but like, it blows your mind. And then, of course, like you have this intense dialogue or monologue by Lee Polk's mother, you know, talking about the sexual abuse that she was complicit to, and, you know, justifying her reasons for it. And then you have, you know, Eileen pulling the trigger, and it's a very, very intense 20 minutes of cinema, and like that, like 20 minutes of cinema has given me an experience that like was so much more intense that like I felt like it was one of my top 10 movies of 2023 as of right now, anyways. I hope you enjoyed this review. It's probably like a little rough around the edges, but you know, first one, gotta start somewhere. I'm basically gonna do every single movie that I watch in 2023 except for like rewatches, because I don't really know how to talk about rewatches like in a way that's like not just like pure nostalgia, and you know, maybe that's a thing. But Eileen was technically the second movie I watched this year. The first one I rewatched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like the old like 1971 movie with Gene Wilder, because I wanted to start the year off well, just like I wanted to end last year off well by watching Shawshank Redemption again, which I've seen a dozen times, and I've listened to Willy Wonka a couple dozen times because I used to listen to audio of it at work. My next review will be Dream Scenario. I've already watched the movie, so I'm actually going to record that right after this. Anyways, bye!